And the last point that I'd make, the last kind of big concern is something that a number of other people have raised, which is how this current protest opposition movement may gel or coalesce with other opposition movements. And I think this is especially concerning in the South. I think building on something that Charles has said is, it seems to me that the Southerners are not in a position to go along with a compromise that maybe the official opposition, the JNP and others, may reach with the regime. Because I think they recognize that they will get the same deal that they get from the government that they would get from the opposition. So I don't think that there's a good resolution to that dilemma. So I guess while we're focusing on Saleh and ties and other places, I think we should really be looking at Aden and the fact that the government has used violence in the past in the South is something that we should be keeping in mind. I think the kind of final takeaway point that I have is I think that when we look at what's going on, it's we see that we have an opposition that is not unified. It seems the only kind of key point they all have is that the president and his family need to go. But there is no platform beyond that, and I think that is to the government's advantage. Until they develop a more coherent approach, I think this is something that the government can manage through this managed chaos. The term is controlled chaos. But I think at the end of the day, this is all about maximizing the positions for the power elite inside Yemen. I think at the end of the day, it's all about negotiating and trying to get to the best possible position before you get to that stage where you do negotiate. With that, I think I'll stop so we can have a discussion.
Thank you very much. We're just heard that Yemen is a lot less brittle than its neighbors Egypt and Tunisia, and we're not expecting collapse anytime soon. And Charles, of course, called for the U.S. to take a greater role. I want to start by asking Janet a question, and then the two speakers, and we'll open the floor up. Charles called for the U.S. to play a role in helping the opposition and Saleh's people to negotiate a compromise. I'd like to know what your thoughts are about that, what role you can play. And very briefly to Charles and Chris, is a compromise possible between the opposition and Saleh, and what would that look like?
Well, we're certainly looking for ways to be helpful. We've had some fairly serious conversations with all sides. We don't want to place ourselves in the middle of all of this, though, to be perfectly honest, because then it becomes an American solution as opposed to a Yemeni solution. But to the extent that we can be helpful, we have an extremely activist ambassador on the ground, and we are prepared to do so.
You want to comment about the possibility of a compromise? What we might expect to go forward?
I would say that yet to be seen. I do see it's possible for there to be both a negotiated settlement where Saleh stays, but there is a substantial transfer of power towards the opposition, and it could also be that the president goes in some time frame. And that there is a coalition government that comes together. And I'm more optimistic that the opposition can work it out. And I do think the Southerners can be pulled into it. I think it's very significant that they have put down their secessionist slogans and their flags, and have joined Mushtarak in their call for the regime to fall. Let me leave it there.
I guess the only part that I would add is, the last several weeks, at least, should probably teach most people not to make too many predictions about what will not happen. And I think when we're talking about what could happen, it seems, while this can probably go on for a long time inside Yemen, it can't go on until 2013. I think, there will need to be something to move up the election and try to come to some new arrangement. And what that is, I don't think I have the answer to what it is. I think that's something that will need to happen.
All right, we'll take questions from the floor. Let's start with this individual here. If you could please take your name and affiliation.
Mohammed Shina, Voice of America. Ambassador, how did the strategic cooperation of the President Saleh impact U.S. handling of the Yemen uprising, and if the opposition rejected the dialogue and insisted on ousting the president, do you think the United States would support the aspiration of the Yemeni?
Well, as I said earlier, the problems, the challenges that Yemen faces, Yemen has become a solution. And yes, we have extremely good cooperation with the federal government across a wide variety of issues. We would expect that that would continue. We have a close relationship with the Yemeni people. We hope that that will continue. But it's for the Yemenis to decide what their future is going to be, so it's not for us to dictate this deal or that.
Charles Schmitz from Gulf News. I'm just wondering, did you expect this to happen? And if you did, why didn't you do something about it?
Well, I mean, come on. The Yemeni people have been concerned. People have been concerned about the Yemeni state for a long time. And in fact, what? All Yemeni observers have been very, and the U.S. government has been concerned for a long time. I was called into Washington from Baltimore in beginning of about 2009, when it wasn't in the media a whole lot, but clearly the U.S. government and Yemen, people who knew Yemen, were very concerned about it. The political situation was bad, the war in the north, the secessionist movement in the south, which happened, by the way, at the height of oil revenues, okay? So you add on to that economic decline, and it's a difficult situation, and people were worried about it. And perhaps it's like, why didn't it happen before? Really? I mean, it's a surprise in Yemen that it didn't happen before.
Let me just re-emphasize that fact. There are some people who think that the United States woke up and discovered Yemen on December 25th of last year with the underwear bomber. That is patently untrue. Obviously, we have been in Yemen, involved in Yemen for a number of years. But certainly with this administration, as Charles said, we were looking at options, looking at what was happening on the ground. There were studies and there were discussions at the White House about Yemen 2 years ago. I think from our perspective, we were concerned to see the direction in which Yemen seemed to be heading with all of these various forces looking like they had the potential of pulling Yemen apart. But I think that most people, although you can't exactly predict the day or even the event that might trigger something, I think most people thought that Yemen was in a particularly precarious position.